I think during this whole period, we'll wait more information to come to our corner, and as we receive, we'll report to you.
So what's happening now? The weather people are on a conference call with the people here in Jupiter and with Every. What's going on?
Sure. This check is done continuously, and if simply we'll have to satisfy the safety requirements for this parameter, and we're hoping that we'll come back to the limits.
So we're waiting for the wind to die down?
Yes.
Or to change direction?
Possibility.
Because apparently wind from the north is more critical than wind from other directions, is that right?
That is true, but that depends on for the liftoff, it's a different criteria. For high altitude, it's a different criteria.
We have no problem with any other part of the weather, of the
no,
visibility?
It's clear, no rain, no lightning, so just there's one concern, and that's the wind.
Because the cloud ceiling has to be of a certain height, I imagine, too. It has to be higher than, what, 200 meters?
250 meters.
50. So that's no problem.
That's no problem.
And we can see fine.
Yeah, we have a reasonably large window, and we hope that we'll satisfy the weather criteria, and we'll be able to launch.
All right, so we are waiting. We're stuck for the moment at the 6-minute mark, which is the beginning of the synchronized sequence. And we're waiting for news on the weather, which will clear up the red, which is currently on our authorization to launch. And once we get word of the weather, then the red will shift over to green and we'll be on our way again. Now, what happens? We will... We're at the 6-minute mark, so we'll pick up at the 6-minute mark, or
yes.
We skip around somewhere?
No, we pick up at the 6 minutes mark. Maybe we can explain what automatic sequence is, which at this instant, at the 6 minute mark, we're
just about to go into
yes.
a synchronized sequence.
Yes.
Which is what?
Well, this sequence is used for final preparation of the launcher, and for checkout operations related to switch over to flight configuration.
Flight configuration means in the computer?
Many things, many parts of the launcher. For example, it is fully automatic, and it's controlled in parallel up to 5 seconds before the liftoff by 2 computers in the launch center on the ground. One computer configures fluids and propellants for flight, for example, and performs all the associated checks during these configurations. And the other computer executes the final preparation of the electrical systems, like, for example, initiation of the flight program, and starting up the servo motors, and, for example, switching to flight batteries at 1 minute mark, 1 minute before the H0, where we ignite the first stage engines. All these commands are sent automatically.
Done by computer.
Done by computer. Also, we receive back the data from the launcher after these commands are executed.
Now, does this mean that before the 6-minute mark, I'm sure there are other checks that are being carried out, but they're not being carried out by computer?
Yes, but all the initiations and control and activation of those tasks are done by human, operated and conducted through computers. So it's like a semi-automatic, we can say. But starting at 6 minutes, there are so many commands and so complex operations taking place, it is impossible to follow it manually.
And it takes 6 minutes to get them all done, is that right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'd have a 3-minute automatic sequence or a 1-minute automatic sequence.
Sure.
Has it always been this way for all the Ariane?
Yes. And
so there's a million things to do between 6 minutes and H0.
And at the launch center, which we'll see later, hopefully, that there are many cognizant system engineers, which they have the expertise of various parts and the systems of the launcher. They look at the data real time. However, if anything comes as a return from the launcher out of the allowed limits, whichever computer detects this out of limit condition, it pauses the automatic sequence and we come back to, again, H0 minus 6 minute mark.
All right, so to recap again, we are stuck for the moment at 6 minutes. We have a little problem with the weather. The wind velocity or direction, we're not sure yet, is not right, is not what it should be. So the weather people triggered the red. If the weather people triggered the red, how come there's not a red on weather and it's on authorization to launch?
Well, I don't know that, but it was reported to us that the launch is not authorized because of the wind value in altitude and in some height.
But my question is, why is there not a red on the weather
I don't know.
section?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, as soon as we get word from the weather people and the launch authorization people, we'll be on our way again. Yves Guérin checking with his people. The mission director. Of course, a launch being such a complex affair, you want to be sure that everything is right. So we will definitely not go if there's any question.
Yeah, there are a lot of criteria to meet. Just, of course, the success of the mission, but before anything else, the safety of people and the property comes in, and we have to satisfy.
I think we're going to cut away now for a short interlude while we're waiting, and we'll be back with some more news on the synchronized sequence, which will be coming up. All right, we are back. Hope you like those pictures of French Guiana. It's a very interesting place. It's worth the visit to come down and see the high-tech space center rising out of the Amazon jungle. French Guiana, 35,000 square miles, roughly the size of the great state of Indiana. We have. Did we have any new information come in from the weather people?
I don't have very precise information, but we were told that the concern was the wind value at 12-kilometer altitude. So some high winds violating the wind limits at the 12-kilometer altitude. That's we were disclosed
Okay,
at
so
this point.
How are we doing on our window? How much time left?
Well, right now, a little more than half an hour. We still have in the window.
Okay, we are still waiting for authorization to go for the second flight of the year tonight, launching Intalsat 801, the first of the new 800 series. I don't know if we're going to cut back to our picture postcard or not. As far as the weather goes, the wind is the only real troublesome aspect, isn't it? We can launch in the rain, that's no problem.
No, the wind, like we said before, northerly wind would be the concern, highest concern at the liftoff. But there's no problem for the liftoff criteria.
So northerly wind, you mean, is coming off the ocean? Mm-hmm. Is that right?
The concern right now is, as we try to get the information, the wind at the after the liftoff, when the launcher reaches at 12 kilometers or vicinity, the altitude. But the conditions may change, and also the flight directory, they're in meeting to evaluate the criteria and
they're in a meeting with
what kind of margins are involved. And
right. Are they on the phone? Is there any phone conference going on now between Every and launch pad and here?
Well, more than the Every right now is the criteria are well established, especially for the safety, and everything is ongoing right now in the Space Center between the authorities and the related people, and between some decision makers. And
so we're waiting for the wind to drop. We're waiting for the wind to drop or change direction, basically.
One of the two, and also looking to the criterias and seeing what kind of margins are involved.
All right. While we're waiting, again, we're stuck at 6 minutes. I think we're going to cut away once again to more picture postcards of French Guiana. And while we're watching those, we'll try to dig up some more information for you. And hopefully the wind will die down or change direction and we can take off again.
Postponed by 1 day. We have taken this decision for safety reasons due to some not acceptable winds at high altitude, and for safety reasons we consider that it's not proper to do this flight tonight. What I would like to do is to ask Michel Mignot, the director of the CSG, and also the guy who is responsible for all of us of safety on this base, to give you some more detail. He will be speaking in French, and so if you can take your headphones for the translation.
Well, indeed, as the director of the Space Center in Guyana, I just made the decision to halt the launching tonight for safety reasons, because the weather conditions are not favorable. The orientation and wind speed, the speed of the wind, between 12 and 25 kilometers of altitude. Well, this is a rare configuration, but it may occur especially at the season of the year, and such a configuration, in case of an accident, well, which wouldn't be likely, but which might occur between 90 seconds and 105 seconds after liftoff, well, the hazard would be fallout of some components between the Space Center all the way to the outskirts of the town of Kourou. The safety here at the CSG is an absolute priority, so we would rather wait for more acceptable conditions. We'd like to remind you that this is the first time in our past history that a launch is postponed for this very reason. Tomorrow, the weather department will tell us more about the postponement. So we hope to be launching tomorrow, that is in 24 hours.
What I can add is that on the launcher side and for our customers, we will do everything to manage a next tentative of a flight for tomorrow. So we will reconfigure the flight V094 for tomorrow, and it will be occurring normally at exactly the same time than tonight. So next rendezvous for all of you will be tomorrow. You know the program. This is something that we have planned as usual, a postponement of 1 day. Again, sorry for that, and next rendezvous will be on tomorrow. Thank you.
Were the reasons behind the launch postponement. We're going to go again tomorrow, same time, same place. Just postponed for 24 hours. And Francis Avanzi said, of course, the flight will be reconfigured. And the message is safety first. So we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Joshua Jample with Mesut Chichikar. Good night, everybody.
Good night.